This is part 2 of my one-page solo engine review. So if you haven't checked the first part, where I gave you a kind of overview and tutorial of the system, do check it out. And if you have, well, welcome to part 2. Enjoy! In this next section, I'll take you through my 3 tests. So I did 3 little RPGs to try this out. And I used 3 different systems, and I also varied the amount of rules I would be using. So my light use was with Grimwild. I used the starting plot hook, I set scenes using the system, and I did some oracle rolls, like the basic yes, no, and the how. Now let me take you through a little bit of the story. So I had 3 characters, but I started with just one, Jade, a dancer who has a rough wake up in a small town. She has to get back to her dancing troupe, but she was late, so now she's kind of searching for someone who could accompany her to get back to the girls. Jade is able to recruit Craig, the second character, a paladin, to help her get through the forest. She kind of plays up on like, oh, it would be dangerous for me to go all alone. And they find her a dance troupe. But the troupe is like getting mad at some monster hunters that got a young druid trapped in their carriage. Monster hunters call him a changeling. And Druid is my third character. Phineas sees that people are trying to help him, and he changes into a small animal and gets out. The diversion of everyone makes it so that the monster hunters don't realize at that point, and Phineas is now free. The paladin doesn't really have a reason to stick around, so he starts getting back to his village, while the druid and the dancer and the troupe all go towards another town. However, on his way back, Craig gets intercepted by the monster hunters. They're riding back, they understood the druid is gone, and they blame the paladin. So they get into a fight. And then, because of the fight, that gets the paladin to jump into the cart and to join basically with the others who have made camp for the night. There's a big fight against the monster hunters. The monster hunters run away. Everyone's saved, and that's when everyone's invited to go to the town. And the paladin, who is not someone who has a easy time turning down a nice little party, well, he decides to follow them. My church can wait for a bit. But Paladin realizes while they're having a drink and suddenly Jade, the dancer, has disappeared that she seems to be in trouble. It's like she has this criminal guy that's kind of controlling her. And now the druid is kind of a really shy, kind of a friendless person, and he can't transform into animals. He likes to transform into a cat. So he's just kind of following along the dancer one night, and he sees her going into like a bad neighborhood, and he sees her with other people all transform into werewolves. So oh crap, he realizes some criminals know she's a werewolf and they are exploiting her. And because of that, they're blackmailing that dancer. So eventually, Jade escapes. She thinks, oh, well, maybe that paladin can help me. The druid helps her escape by transforming into a horse for her. And for a while, the druid and Jade, they stay at the paladin's house. But after some time, that draws suspicion. So the story wrapped up when the monster hunters came back, knowing Craig was harboring those 2 monsters. the criminals had tipped them off that she is a werewolf, and there was a big battle against a boss, a monster hunter boss, a duo. We beat the duo, but there was panic in the village and it ended on a cliffhanger. So what worked? Well, I only used the plot hook, set the scene, some oracle rolls, and I think it worked well to start scenes. That's the biggest use I had out of it. I thought it prompted some nice surprises at some points. Helped me basically have scenes that were a little bit more original than what I was coming up with. Overall, it helped add originality. It did its job as a RPG oracle. However, since I was only doing some light usage, I didn't use a lot of cards. So I only got through a little bit of the deck. And what's cool with cards is that there's only a set amount. So if you keep drawing like low numbers at the beginning, well, you know that at some point you'll draw a high number. But the thing is, I was using so little of the deck that didn't get a good spread, I thought. It was kind of underused. And since I was rolling the dice most of the time, because most of what I was using was with dice, like the basic oracle rolls or setting the scene, really, I barely drew any cards. Now, the second test. I got moderate use with OPSE plus Scarlet Heroes, a staple of this channel. To the previous list, I added the Game Master moves and the Dungeon Generator. Now, a little overview of the story. I did only one hero. I made him a cleric, a fungal cleric, kind of anti-hero that had like mushroom-based magic. So I rolled that I would be against outlaws. And I introduced them after Orlok was having some kind of mushroom meditation, talking to the mushroom hive. He got this weird sense that something bad was gonna happen, that a part of the mushrooms were gonna get killed. A purple mushroom was gonna get squashed out of existence by some dangerous humanoids. He gets kind of this mandate by the mycelium he worships that he should be helping out the region, preventing this cataclysm with the mushrooms. And going out of the forest, what does he see? A bunch of orc soldiers pushing a cart around, half-plate armor, they're riding horses. It's not your orc barbarians. It's more of a soldier vibe. So he digs for info. He goes to an inn he knows pretty well, and the innkeeper tells him what's going on. Oh yes, there's these deserters that have been establishing themselves in a nearby swamp, and they're harassing us. Kind of lurks around their camp, he finds it, kind of harasses them, and during a fight, wins, and he finds a prisoner. So he gets away with the prisoner, and he talks to him. He realizes there is a resistance. Some farmers are banding together, and they're planning some low-scale operations against those orcs. But Orlok, he has this sense of imminent danger, and he thinks, no, that won't do. I have to do it by myself. And he goes kind of crazy. It's like the spores, the network of mushrooms are getting scared. He's sensing a dark influence in the camp of the deserters. So he attacks. He manages to kill some patrols outside, and he uses his cleric powers to create a fungus zombie. It's like a reverse turn undead. He does a create undead. And then he goes in. And that's when I started using the dungeon rules. So he finds there's not a lot of people, then suddenly they see him, fights a bunch of them. He has his zombie that he coats into something that's flammable, and he starts putting the whole camp ablaze. He sees everything's on fire, and he's like, there's something that's drawing me into here. And suddenly, out of the darkness, gets attacked by some magic, some bolts of boiling blood. He sees two figures with long red robes. It's not his first encounter with like wizards and magic users around the camp. Okay, he already killed one before, now there's two. They're attacking him, so he goes after them. He kills them, and it reveals that they were actually keeping their big boss hidden. So he fights the boss. It's like a much mightier mage, and he's using a bunch of blood magic, and he's that close to winning, but suddenly he succumbs to a mighty blow, and that's the end of Orlok. He failed against the blood mage, which, if you've been following me, that's something that happens relatively often in my stories. The boss fights are always insanely hard. What worked with this? Well, a lot, I thought. I thought it was useful to create extra scenes between the expected ones, because I really went into this being like, he finds the camp, he attacks the camp, boss, that's it. But the prisoner, that was extra. He had some little encounters in the swamp before the little encounter in the town at the inn was kind of nice. So I liked that setting the scene, created some interesting little vignettes that added to the story. I had some failure moves, and I thought they worked well to make consequences a little bit more original. And I also used some pacing moves. Some of them led nowhere. I think there's one time I did a pacing move, and then I was like, oh, that doesn't lead me anywhere. I'll just start a new scene. But sometimes I had like a combat, and I was like, okay, well, maybe that's the end of the scene. Pacing move, and actually, let's continue a little bit. Something that didn't work though was the dungeon generator. It was okay. I used it for the camp, but it was kind of nonsensical. Like, some of the locations were good, but it was way too empty. Like, it didn't really make sense. So either I would have had to kind of adapt it, which takes away some of the unexpectedness of it, or just kind of roll with the less believable answers. Finally, let's get to our full use, the Xcrawler and dungeon with exemplars and eidolons. To the standard roster of rules, I added the NPC generator and the Xcrawler. Now let's do a little overview of the story. It was fairly long, but I will shrink it down. So the gist was that we were two important people working for the Duke of Parstenan, and a villainous beholder sent a group of unseelie elves to kidnap the Duke's wife and kids while they were sent away secretly out of danger from the siege of Parthenon. The beholder is like a crime lord. He wants to take the wife and sell it for profit to the hobgoblins. The first scene I had to do it twice, because the first time I decided they would wake up my wizard and my warrior. They woke up into a cave with a very fearsome owl bear, and the owl bear just shredded them. So I was like, crap, okay, let's do it again. And that time they woke up in Rugeland's cavern. So I started straight into a dungeon. I had to roll a team, and with that I decided it would be a temple, underground temple. So it would be for the unseelie, so the evil fae people, and they would dedicate it to a centaur demigod. So they wake up, they're prisoners. You have a elf that comes to see them, and he's like, okay, tomorrow, as tradition dictates, you're gonna be running in a maze, and if you can escape, you'll be fine. Otherwise, we'll sacrifice you. Of course, my characters didn't want to go for it. They kind of had to fight over what to do. And they decided, you know what, we're gonna try to escape. Broke out of their jail door, and they just started going ham on everyone. Found some swords, killed a bunch of the unseelie, going from room to room. And at some point, I decided to generate an NPC. So as they moved to that room, they found an entertainer who wanted to travel, and the notable feature was a notable nature, small and mystical. So I put that together and I said, oh, it's gonna be a little homunculus. So the little homunculus, he got really scared when he sees a big knight and a wizard barging in while he's half drunk, and he screams and he goes to the next room. And with my rolls, I rolled unique NPC again, because that's how I ended up generating the first one. This time, I generated Xanala, the soul peddler, a drow, head of a little band of soul hunters. This was a fight, Xanala and 2 soul hunters. Of course, we crushed them. So now the little homunculus surrendered to us and decided he would follow us. Okay, little homunculus friend. We get to the entrance, and I had yet another unique adversary. And what was it? A leader, I decided, because, you know, I figured, well, it's the last room, better be a boss. And it ended up being a centaur priest, the head of this little temple. So it was really tough. It was a mob of faithful plus him. We ended up winning, but Agion, the mage, he got killed. I was with only one character. I get out of the first dungeon, I'm already down to 1. Oh well. I won't meander too long. There was a lot of Xcrawling. The way it goes, I would generate all the tiles around mine, pick one to go, and then see if something special would happen. We had lots of little vignettes. We encountered a demon who tried to kill me. We encountered some little towns. We fought some hobgoblins guarding the way. And doing that, we realized that we were getting closer to the war zone in Parstenan. My knight, Sir Quen, was thinking, that's good, I'm getting closer to the war zone. The mercenary probably took my lady, and they're probably bringing her to the enemy. I think it's a fair assumption. So he's happy with going closer to the war zone. As you can see, we went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 X's before finally rolling a dungeon. So I decided, it's time. That's gonna be the location he has to go to. But I got the same complication of, wouldn't it suck if? So I decided, well, it would suck if, instead of being able to rescue the Duchess and her boys, what if the exchange has already happened and I get there when they're just getting out? So now it's the hobgoblins. And well, in my lore, hobgoblins, they're led by a bunch of priests and priestesses that worship Invicta. I had my final scene, a face-off. And I went all out. A white priestess and a red priestess and a champion of Invicta. And since I was role-playing as an honorable knight, he goes there and he's like, I'm gonna challenge you to a duel. I know you guys are honorable. You want a fair fight. If I win, I get my lady back. They accept. They're like, okay, if you can defeat all 3 of us in sequence, you can have her. First, you'll fight the champion, which is really broken. So, okay, we start the fight and oof, kept missing with my knight and the champion kept hitting. So, again, we died to the last boss. At least it was an honorable end for that knight. But the Siege of Parthenon, don't think it was won by the Duke. So that was it for my last story. What worked? Well, the NPC generator was a huge highlight. I loved using it to customize encounters. That's mainly how I used it. Every time I would get a unique NPC in the dungeon, I would use it. And that was really cool. Like, I didn't think I would get Dylan the Homunculus or Xanala, or Jacan the Centaur. Really awesome. I think that NPC generator is elegant. And the Xcrawler, the rules felt simple, but pretty good. Like, I tried other ones before. I mean, I never did a deep dive into Xcrawler, so guys, if you wanna like suggest some good Xcrawler systems, I'll review them. But compared to the one in D&D or the one from Scarlet Heroes, which can get a little bit overly complicated, kind of clumsy, I thought this one was simple and effective. Not too much, not too little, just perfect for this kind of system. Now, what didn't work? Well, again, the dungeon generator. It worked better this time, but there's two things I really didn't like very much. First, basically every room is kind of random, and it really detracts from locations feeling cohesive and believable. Like, you go from one to the next and there's no real link between them. And worse was that there's no real ending. You kind of go until you're like, okay, enough. There's no like counter to tell you how many rooms are gonna be in there. There's no like, ooh, you get a boss in X number of this, or roll for a boss, right? You kind of have to add this yourself. So maybe overly simplified for my taste. And I mean, some people may think it's enough because they plan on taking control of that anyway. Like, some people will be like, oh, I just need something simple. I'll add the flavor I want. I'll add the custom rules I want. But I don't know. I'm evaluating it on if it can stand on its own. And honestly, I think it's probably the worst part of the system so far. Just my take. And on that, let's get to the rest of my takes. What are my takeaways? This is gonna be the last slide. Highlights. I have 4 of them. And I'm not covering everything there. But first, the card mechanics are fun. That was a big highlight for me. This got me to get better at the card shuffling. I ended up, like, in the first one I was playing it normal, but afterward I was just playing with the cards. Like, every time I would need to roll a dice, I would instead draw a card. So I went through my deck like many times, shuffled it, reshuffled it. It was really good. To me, that was just a neat gimmick, you know, that would give a clear separation between the RPG I'm playing and the solo system. Oh, the solo system is the cards, and my dice is for the other rules. Thought that worked fantastic. And as I kind of mentioned before, what's neat with cards is that you have a finite amount of results, right? You don't get the same odds every time. So if you end up having a lot of low rolls or a lot of high rolls in a row, well, you know your luck is going to change eventually. So you're going to get a good spread of results. That's not true with dice. Like, Your likelihood of getting a 20 or a 1, they never change. Whenever you roll, your odds are always the same. Cards, they kind of balance themselves. Second, the NPC generator is very fun. I already talked more than enough about it. I would say it's a good balance between function and simplicity. Third, failure moves are a nice addition. They help you raise the stakes and give consequences to failure that go beyond just taking damage, adding monsters. They give you a little bit of a change to roleplay, to make a choice. So, big thumbs up for that one. And I enjoyed the Xcrawler. Very simple and easy. Maybe there's better ones out there, but so far I don't know them. So for me, the ease of use and functionality are very well balanced again. So it's perfect. Now, two things I didn't like as much. I would say they're my low points. The first one, not as much as the second one, but the suit domains are kind of a hit and miss for me. I don't know if it's the idea of having that extra information. Is it that it gives you too many keywords, or is it that the way they describe like physical, mental, like, is that the issue? The fact that it's not clear, that it's like something you have to get used to. I'm not sure. But I could see it being confusing because sometimes you end up with a lot of keywords to interpret, and I feel like it can bog down the game. That's why I was earlier suggesting that maybe those suit domains, you just kind of take them for inspiration, but you don't try to necessarily make what you come up with like stick to it perfectly, if you know what I mean. Like, you're like, oh, that's physical, does it bring something to mind? Yes, no, okay, I don't care. Having that domain, the idea is that a card has a lot more information than a dice roll because it has that extra like 1 out of 4. I just feel like maybe there's a better way to do this. Now, the second is, well, it's the dungeon crawler. Of course, I already ranted about it quite a bit in this video, so I'll just go quickly. No clear ending. Maybe it's overly simplistic. The layouts don't always make sense. So, personally, of the ones I've tried before, my favorite one would be the randomized location crafter. I already reviewed it. Of all the location crafters, I think it's the best, because in that one you keep track of what you know about the location, so certain things you know they're gonna show up, and there's a good balance of randomness, simplicity, not having to prepare things too much in advance. That one I think would have made better dungeons, honestly. So who is this for? Well, obviously, even according to the designer, it's for people who have played other solo rules at least a little bit. If you're new to the concept, they're not gonna be explaining things well enough for you to just catch on, or at least it's very unlikely. The odds are you're gonna be more confused about it than anything. Players who are using a rule set that is already complex, so let's say D&D 5th edition. You probably know that I think it can be overly complicated, even though there's tons of fans. I'm a fan of D&D, and I've tried to play it solo, and adding like the already kind of complex rules to a bunch more rules to play it solo, that's too much. So for those use cases, I think it's really good. And finally, solo role players looking for a fun, easy alternative. You don't need to use it with something complex. Use it with something easy, and it's gonna be pretty breezy to get through your scenes. Of course, tweak it for where you find it clunky. Like that's how I would use it. Like I wouldn't use it completely as is. But if you enjoy like the fun gimmick of the cards, this is pretty cool. I feel like I'll be using it more. Could be part of the rotation. So with that, we'll end the video here. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you did enjoy. Do give me some suggestions or recommendations. I have some ideas of RPGs I want to test in the future, but I do always read your recommendations, and they have a real impact on this channel. A lot of the content I've covered is directly from your comments. So if you want to have an influence on this, go right on ahead. And of course, you can always leave me a like and subscribe because I'll be making some more content. Anyway, have a good one. See you later.